I think Raven, like when we first had Raven, like the first like few months we had him, he was just like God coach, like uncomparable to anybody else. I feel like towards the end he fell off a bit. I think we all fell off a little bit.
When I feel like some players don't have passion or energy or motivation, and I bring it up, and then I'm reassured that it's going to change, and that they're going to take initiative and have passion, and then it doesn't change, and that happens multiple times. You can understand why someone would get frustrated.
Yeah, of course Raymond got complacent when you have fucking two players that weren't doing fucking shit. Like, what did you expect? Like, you can have a fucking best coach in the world and you have two bronze players. What the fuck are you gonna do?
The recurring pattern that we'd have with TSM with me, Hal, and Ref was like Hal would progressively get more and more annoying, like scream more, rage more, and then we'd have a team conversation saying like, "Bro, you were pissing us off. You're being so annoying." And then he would chill out for like a week, and then the cycle would just repeat again, and we have to have the same team conversation.
Max started to resent me, and eventually couldn't handle my shit anymore. The same way that it's the same thing with Evan. People have a problem with how I act, but as soon as I have 100 grand in my hand, they're like, "Okay, I'll deal with it."
Hello, everybody, and welcome. That's right, Falloutt and Snip3down live in the flesh to a special edition of Apex After Hours live from Chicago. He's here visiting me, literally just landed, got off the flight. We've been hanging, talking, catching up. We thought we should probably do an After Hours because we might skip it this weekend. Good call. I think it's a good call.
Yeah, back to business. I no time for chitter chatter. Just kind of, hey, let's get this going. And here we are. We got the game room here, making ourselves comfortable, and we'll see about this weekend's After Hours. Maybe we can make something work.
Yeah,
no promises.
That's right. I don't know if you guys didn't see the announcement. He made sure everyone knew and posted that we're gonna be having a nice little boys' weekend. It's gonna be a fun weekend. People, Hal are coming on Friday. He's here a couple days early. We're doing some planning and talking and scheming a little bit about some kind of future plans. But we thought, obviously, for tonight, a lot to talk about in case we don't do a show this weekend. We obviously will go live. But to his point, yeah, we'll see if we can pull something together. That would be a great freaking time. Me, you, Hal, and Steve on that couch back there or something, vibing out. Maybe a slightly better setup than this. A little bit of a different show today. Obviously, we don't have the beautiful overlay, the great production from BMIC and our entire team. This is a little bit more casual, just kind of a full screen of us, but then also we're going to be screen sharing and talking through some key topics and big discussions that are going on today. Obviously, a lot being said, talked about, a lot to talk about in the Apex community and Apex scene, and I'm excited to jump into it. The biggest thing that happened today, if you maybe have been living under a rock or haven't been on social media, an insane amount of chatter. I think actually kind of stemmed from the After Hours show, and we saw some of the commentary on Reddit. A lot of people, I think, appreciated that we asked.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. A lot of people appreciated that we asked Evan, aka Verhole, some honest opinions. And look, there's been a lot that's transpired since then. I don't think we realized how much would transpire as a result of that. Raven issued kind of not a statement, but answered questions and spoke to it on his stream. We're going to have a live clip of that. We're actually going to walk through a variety of the different clips and conversations that are being had on that topic from Raven's kind of statement and perspective, obviously some of Evan's rebuttals and Evan's statements, and then Hal obviously today addressed it on stream as well. He's going to give perspective because he actually teamed with Hal and Reps for a long time, so I think that's valuable to get his point of view, obviously, and I think it's going to be helpful to share all sides of the story because there's so many different sides and truisms here.
I think Raven, like when we first had Raven, like the first few months we had him, he was just like God coach, like uncomparable to anybody else. I'd say Talmadge and Raven, like Raven towards the end of when we had him versus Talmadge now, I think they're pretty similar. So I'd say right now Raven and Talmadge are somewhat similar. Yeah, I don't think I wouldn't rank one. Maybe Raven's a little bit ahead of Talmadge right now, but I do feel like Raven lost a bit of passion towards the end. And I just think that like as of now, they're not far apart, Raven and Talmadge.
So great question from Pete. Anything that you heard there from Evan that was out of line in your eyes in terms of how he kind of spoke to some of his thoughts, at least as it relates to Raven?
I mean, from my perspective, like I didn't take that as really like crazy shots fired on the show of like he thinks he fell off a little bit. Like I think just in terms of like maybe like where it was at the beginning versus where it was, like everyone in the world knows Raven's the top of the tier coaches in terms of like what you want out of a coach. I mean, I could see why Raven would listen to that and instantly like be offended. You hear I just fell off, and or like that one of your ex teammates is just now coming out on a podcast, not talking to you, and saying he fell off, and then Raven couldn't defend himself. So Raven's in a position now where he's working with teams, and I understand that he needs to feel like he needs to defend himself, talk about the situation. So I think that's justified. Like the response, as long as like it doesn't just keep going to the streams and everyone keeps getting more and more information. Like Raven started bringing up, we'll listen to it, certain things that I don't know if Evan was going to make public or, but I don't know. It could just start some drama. I don't think it was too bad. I think it's fair for Raven to defend himself, but I don't think it was like, it was some shots, but it wasn't as bad as that. And we're not in that position, so Raven's going to feel a certain way instead of like the outside perspective.
Yeah. I would agree with everything you said. I think there's some comments being thrown out there of like, Evan did this on purpose to clickbait or to get views or for attention. At this point in time in this video, I think that is wildly untrue. I think in my opinion, Evan answered that. People asked him a question point blank. And one thing I love about Verhulst, love him or hate him, most people love him, but he tells it like it is. And he gives the fans kind of what they want, which is truth. Like that's, whether you agree or not is a different conversation. And we should talk about that if you agree with that, with his comments about Raven. But that's Evan's truth. That's his version of the truth, at least. And he at least has the balls to not give the politically correct answer or skirt around the conversation and actually share where his head's at. And I respect him tremendously for that. I think he's one of the best interviewees in Apex. When all the times I've had a chance to interview him throughout LGS for that reason. He tells it like it is. I think he was just telling his truth and his opinions. And obviously, that did now stir up drama. Completely agreed with everything you said, though. Raven was entirely justified in speaking his truth and his side of the story. And he actually shares some more details here.
I mean, it's so funny because everyone thinks that like Evan is Apex's sweetheart. And it's so just like not true. Like he is such a nice guy and everything, but he like you said, he speaks his mind freely, and I think he surprises a lot of people at a lot of the things that he says. And he's a lot more just brutal, honest truth, like we've seen from some other people. So he's not just always buttering up to everyone. Yeah. And the whole Raven situation, I mean, if in his eyes it was a fall off, I mean, you look at the Raven came into a TSM team that was really struggling. Came in with like insane amounts of passion, really like so much credit was given to him on, how after the tournament said, he wouldn't have won this without Raven. And so, anyone who gets an opportunity like that, like when I first joined TSM or when Evan first joined TSM, you give 130%. But when the overall work environment starts to get tarnished around the board, not just from you, the effort and everything else that's going into it, if other people aren't giving that back, your effort is also going to lack. So Evan, who has also come out and said that, he was also lacking in these areas. Raven then, that's a product of your work environment. So saying he fell off, I don't think Evan was meaning that maliciously. I just think like the overall effort that was going into the team fell off from the beginning to where it ended. So I think like that's my perspective of it.
The part that he failed to mention is that, okay, first of all, I thought that was like incredibly disrespectful because no one has talked bad about him. When I feel like some players don't have passion or energy or motivation, and I bring it up, and then I'm reassured that it's going to change, and that they're going to take initiative and have passion, and then it doesn't change, and that happens multiple times, you can understand why someone would get frustrated. I had to deal with some players just not being honest about how they actually felt about their drive. And if he wants to call that me falling off, sure, whatever, I'll take it. Maybe I could have dealt with it better. But if anyone fell off, the man wasn't playing the game. There is no reason at the highest level the standards should be even to have conversations about even just playing the game, booting up the game. Like, do you think anyone at Dark Zero has to be told to play the game? No. No one at Dark Zero ever has to be told to play the game, to boot up the game outside of scrims. So why is that a conversation that we had to bring up? And you can tell. The actions didn't line up with the words. The actions. Because you could just look at streaming patterns. If streaming and playing was down, just look at the objective facts. The passion was clearly not there, and my intuition, my gut was right, and I brought it up, and I kept being reassured that I was going to change, and then it kept not changing. So yeah, after a while, you get frustrated. You get mad. What am I supposed to do? I keep getting reassured that it's going to change, and then it doesn't. It's crazy. I'm not a head coach, so I can't threaten them with their position on the team. I can't be like, hey, if you don't pick it up, if you don't pick up the slack, you're off the team or you're benched. I can't do that because I don't have to control the roster. So what am I supposed to do? After a while, I tried. I tried. But after a while, there's nothing I can do. And so I just kind of got a little complacent because my energy wasn't being reciprocated. But
Sip some water.
Yeah,
Because my breath.
that's why I felt
And it's the
like
gallon
jaded
too.
towards
so
the end of it.
he's a
But
jug
at the
carrier.
same time, like Evan's a phenomenal player. Like, there's no reason he can't get back to the top. But I just felt like it was pretty disrespectful and unfair for him to bring that up and not be self-aware as to the fact that he wasn't playing the game sometimes, and he was not being totally honest about me. Like, I found out that he didn't want to, that he fucking hated Apex and was even considering quitting. If Evan's actually playing the game and being passionate, like, he's one of the best in the world. But I just felt like it was a little dishonest and like unfair to say that and not like be self-aware. Like I said, I don't know why he decided to bring that up. We could have all just lived with the fact that we went first, and not have said anything.
Honestly, I listened to that this morning, and I'm just hearing it again now. I think my initial thought is he handled that really well.
Raven?
Yeah, I think he handled that really well. He spoke objectively, facts only, and kind of, yes, he got a little emotional and passionate as you would if you felt maybe a little betrayed by a former kind of brother, teammate, etc. But still remained fairly objective. Brought up facts and truth of what actually happened, and brought up some good points. I think he handled that well.
Yeah, I mean, even in that, he talked a little bit about like, he tried to rally the troops kind of when that wasn't reciprocated. Actions are different than words. Then he kind of pulled back. So, and he even said, if that's what you want to consider fall off, then yeah, I guess I did. So he kind of got to what I was even speaking on a little bit of just how when the overall effort is there, like Raven's not the player. Like he can't force people to play. He can only do his job to the best of like what he's doing. And he made good points. Like, and that's why I think one of the big reasons is that Hal left in the first place is you don't have to tell any of the players on DZ to play the game.
Yeah.
This has been something that Hal's talked about publicly a lot about with Jordan for a long time now, from like the very beginning. Even when I teamed him, like Jordan didn't really play the game that much. So now, him and Evan are both playing the game nonstop. And, I think Hal's even talked a little bit about how that's bothered him, how they're putting in all this work. But it's just kind of one of those where it's so good until you don't have it. Then you realize like what you actually have to do to get there in the first place. So I think there's just a lot of good points all around in this, but Raven was completely justified. And I mean, if anything, I'm kind of on his side in the whole him defending himself and kind of explaining the situation. Evan even had some words in the past, which is kind of what we're getting to a little bit of him even admitting, yeah, you're right. I didn't put in the effort and energy that I needed to win.
I never told my team that I wanted to quit the game after champs. It was like right in the middle of Pro League where I was like, boys, like I don't know if I want to keep playing. I'm thinking about quitting. I told Hal that. I said like, yeah, I'm thinking about quitting the game. I literally just sent Hal a text. I was like, this is kind of sucking right now. I'm having fun. It's been miserable. And that was it. I didn't tell him that I was going to quit. I didn't tell him that I had a planned date to quit. I was thinking about quitting the game. And Chad, I promise you, literally every single pro player that's ever played this game has thought about quitting a million times. I mean, even Howder in Split 2.
True.
Like, look at Howder in Split 2. Like, we literally was yapping on stream about how he's about to quit the game. we almost didn't make it to LAN. He was very close to quitting the game.
Hal has
very close.
The game. That's right.
Everyone's wanted to quit the game at some point. So
yeah, he's right about that.
I mean, obviously, I have like bad days where after a day, like, bro, I'm just like, dang, this sucks. I want to quit. Until I actually like pick a set date to quit this game, or actually quit, then I'm going to keep giving it my all. But yeah, chat. Playing with Hal some days was miserable, chat. It was miserable. It actually sucked. It was hard. It was definitely hard. And Raven,
I'm excited to get his
we first picked up Raven, it helped things a lot. Like, Raven basically helped calm Hal down when we first picked up Raven. He like kind of tamed Hal quite a bit. But there came a point where he just stopped caring. Like, Raven was just like, he was basically making us more pissed off at the end of the day. It was just getting mad. He was no longer like the therapist of the team. He was just getting more pissed off. But playing with Hal sucks. It does suck. Okay, here's the thing.
Hal sucks.
Even if it does suck, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, we're playing, like, it's a business end of the day, and we're trying to win. That's the only thing that matters. Chat. We're just trying our hardest to win. Like, even if we don't enjoy playing with him, like, even if he's unenjoyable to play with, doesn't matter. We're still trying to win. And I still should have kept putting in hours. Yeah, no, it was just brutal. And like, why it sucked? The worst part of playing with Hal was definitely just, obviously, like, he would get super pissed off all the time, and he would say things that he didn't actually mean, like, quite often. He would just get super emotional, and it was the worst. It was probably the worst during like rank sessions. That's like one of the most unbearable. Is just playing ranked with him. I mean, chat, I came to a point where me and Jordan literally, like, Yeah, we've had countless like team conversations, me and Jordan, with Hal saying like how much we hate playing ranked with him because like he's just so annoying to play with. Like it just sucks to play ranked with him. We just try to practice by any means possible, not playing ranked with Hal. Back when ranked was like the only way to practice.
I think he's just like
it sucked playing with him. It really did. It just sucked. But that definitely doesn't excuse me and Jordan to not play the game at all. Because we just got lazy and didn't play the game. We got complacent. Like, even if we didn't have Howls or IGL, me and Jordan might have got lazy regardless. You know, playing with Howls sucks. It really does. It is not fun. But he grinds the game 8 hours a day and he's insanely good. And if you want to win, then he's your guy. Except the recurring pattern that we'd have with TSM with me, Hal, and Refs was like Hal would progressively get more and more annoying, like scream more, rage more. And then we'd have a team conversation saying like, "Bro, you were pissing us off. You're being so annoying." And then he would chill out for like a week, and then the cycle would just repeat again, and we have to have the same team conversation. It was like unbearable. It was horrible. But at the end of the day, if me and Jordan still really wanted to win, I mean, there's no excuse for us getting lazy at the champs. Same with Raven too. I mean, Raven definitely got lazy too. We all got lazy, probably except for Hal. Hal's probably the only one that kept working the same way he usually does.
Respect.
Hal's always been a grinder. I mean, he puts in his 8 hours no matter what.
Not everything.
He is always going to be there. He's always going to be like insane of the game. Some of them worth it definitely was. I mean, we won. We just had the best ALGS year that'll probably ever happen. I mean, going second first was definitely worth the pain for sure. It was worth it. And chat, here's another thing. Like when I first joined TSM, it was purely a business decision. I just thought at the end of the day, I would make more money, and that was the only reason I joined.
Ooh.
Chat, I didn't even think joining TSM I'd win more. I thought the team that I was on was better. Like I came from ESA with Duplex and Skiller Cakes, and I joined TSM purely for the viewership. And that was the only reason why, because it was a more like secure financial decision. And that was it. And
Yeah,
the
keep
thing
those
is,
thoughts
when I
yourself.
joined them, they
Yeah.
told me that. Like that was like the way they convinced me to join, because I was on the fence, right?
Is he drunk?
I was on the fence like between staying on ESA
Drunk
back in the
the
day.
gym,
Drunk
yeah.
words or sober
Hal,
thoughts?
Doped up on adrenaline.
Yeah.
And they're like, boys, bro, like maybe your team's better right now, but we have way more viewership, and it's a better long-term financial decision. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I'm gonna make way more money on your team. And that was the truth. And I'm glad I did. I know how I got mad that I started playing the game more since he left, but it's way easier to play the game when I know that I'm not playing with him, and that's just the truth. Like, it's just, he makes it hard to play. He makes it hard to want to grind.
Damn. Jesus Christ.
There's a lot to debunk there.
Lots of debunk.
I think
notes.
he's content farming, like to an extent. He's definitely
not
content farming. Yes, he is. He's definitely content
He's
farming
not
a little bit here.
He's talking with a stream of consciousness of his true thoughts that should stay to himself 1,000%. I think.
I think he's also like yes he is, but I think he's also like milking it a little bit. Like
He was definitely like responding to chat, like engaging with whatever they were trolling and saying. There was that element.
I think he's talking from his heart. Like he's speaking his truths that he hasn't always said out loud, but I do think that he's like moving it up a little bit. I don't know.
He's 21 years old, went straight out of high school to being a pro TSM gamer player, had a semester of college experience. I think he's just young and doesn't, and is going to learn from this. I think he had so many levels he made mistakes in what he just shared.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, definitely.
It's a career learning moment, and I think like he almost maybe spun a little bit of a villain arc, but I think, I don't know. That's my take. What are your thoughts?
That was pretty long. There was a lot there.
there.
I think there's a lot of truth behind it. I mean, there were times, I don't know, everyone's just so different. Like Jordan is a much more reserved person, so like I can see and this was Evan coming into it. He wasn't a very vocal person, and I was the very first person that teamed with Hal that actually gave him like proper shit back. Where him and I were like, we would banter, and I think that like that's what Hal has now with Zero, and I was always there streaming, putting in the same hours as him. Like when I was at and that never faltered, because like even though Hal was really difficult to play with sometimes, and we'd argue, like I knew that it was passion and it came from a place of winning. And until someone is outworking Hal, like you can't, or out winning against Hal, which now he's teamed up with that, you can't knock on his work ethic and what has worked for him to win. Like I mean. Listen, I'm not trying to inflate Hal's ego here, but a lot of Michael Jordan's teammates hated playing with him. Like they didn't. He was
Publicly said it
difficult
to this day.
play with. He was me, had an ego, had all this. Like he was difficult to play with, but you won. Like, and same with Kobe as well. Like I mean, you knew what you were getting. You signed up for it. And for him to say like, you know, how ruined the team vibes and this and that. Like, I mean, I take that as a testament of like you're letting your emotions get in the way of business and being a champion, because like emotions should not affect your want to win and achieve greatness. And I think that's one thing that Hal's made very clear. Like he doesn't care if it hurts your feelings if he thinks it's going to push you to make you better. And I think that's what him and I had, and we push each other to be better and to be great. And I think that that was a bonus. And for Evan to say like, you know, Hal was upset that he's playing the game more. I mean, you kind of have to, like, in a sense, like you and Jordan don't have Hal to rely on anymore to carry not the team, but the comms, the passion, the direction, the IGLing. Like there's so much there that has to go on that if you choose not to play the game, then everything, one, you're only proving Hal right in that the decision that he made was absolutely the right decision. And two, like you're only kind of ruining your own career and reputation if you're continuing to not play the game, even though you have all this adversity that you're facing where now no one is an IGL on this team. You're completely refiguring out your identity as a team with a new player and everything. Like you need to put in the work. And that's why, you know, we see Jordan playing a lot again. And, you know, I love Jordan. I consider him a good friend and everything, but this is, I've had plenty of teammates in the past have like a kind of like a reality check of, oh, wow, like I need to step it into overdrive again to get back up, and then instantly kind of like slowly revert back into that old form of, well, this is what I was doing before, so it's fine. So I hope to see Jordan, like that passion, stay active, because, you know, they're TDMing. They never did that before. They're playing nonstop. Like the hours that they're putting in are there, and I hope to see that as consistent. But I think you knew what you were signing up for. You had so much success with Hal, and then you guys slowly started doing poor when you stopped putting in that same work and you let emotion take control of the narrative and your team when that has no place for champions. And I think that's my biggest takeaway from this. And I think that does come from being young, because I've let my emotions keep me on teams longer than I should have. Like even with the straight ripping team back in the day for me, I stayed on that team probably longer than I should have, and I could have made better business decisions to play with better players at a certain point, but my emotions kept me there because I was very, you know, close with that team, etc. I think everyone is still going to be cheering on that TSM team, and honestly, both of them to succeed.
I agree. It is good content. And I think now that we can actually saw the Verholz clips and can speak to like what I said earlier on the after hour show, absolutely not was he trying to farm content, etc. Like there's no way he was just answering a question genuinely. There, my take was I don't think he was either. And don't get me wrong, like the Verholst family, his brothers are his editors, run his channels, like they're marketing geniuses. They have college degrees for business and so they absolutely are using, you know, all of this for fun, for content, which is, you know, I think fair. I don't think that's a Verholst or an Evan thing. So my take, I wanted to clear that. I don't think Evan's doing any of this stuff at all to farm content. Like some, you know, accusations, words have been thrown out. With that said, did he make mistakes? Absolutely. You know, and we're going to talk more about Hal later. I'm going to ask you some questions about Hal after his take, because you played with him, obviously. You just spoke to it quite a bit. Him sharing that playing with Hal. First off, can I just pause across all of this? Someone told me, is this true? These motherfuckers were at the gym together, and then Evan went home on stream?
That's what I heard.
Are they still living in a house together?
Yeah, they are.
I'm so confused.
We saw them Hal walked into his room the other day when we were on the show.
Yeah,
and they were like all buddy, and then go to the gym and then get back. And Evan's like, you know what? I'm about to just lay some bombs on
Hal. And that's the thing. Like, they're obviously still friends. I think Evan definitely went over a lot of mistakes in terms of what he said. Him saying playing with Hal was miserable 19 times, maybe not necessarily needed. But I think from his perspective, what he was trying to say is everyone knows that. Watch a TSM stream, any TSM stream from the last 3 years, including when you were on the team.
Dude, I got torched on that roster.
That's
all
what I'm
the
saying.
time.
So true or false, was it like of all the teammates you had, that had to have been in the bottom 3 of miserable experiences?
It was pretty miserable at times. Yeah, I mean, it was really tough. Yeah, I mean, like Hal said, it's all fun and games when you're winning, but when you're losing and that same fire is coming at you, it's not fun. It's really, really not. But like that's the hardened championship mindset you need to have, where it's like, okay, am I going to do something about it, or like am I going to let this keep piling on and on and on and then just sit in a dark room?
That's right.
Like, are you going to take control, or are you just going to let all this, like, put you in your own mood and let that control you? So
and get in emotional shambles, as a result.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with him. But by all means, don't think I'm crucifying Hal for it, because I completely agree with you, bro. But these kids are children. Like, Evan is 18 years old when he starts playing with them. He doesn't understand. I mean, in a lot of ways, he's still kind of learning how to push back like you did. You were 27, 28, 29 years old. Like, you were a grown-ass man when you played with Hal. So,
27, 28.
You understood how to push back. You had the confidence to push back. Yeah, exactly. Evan's coming in as an 11 years younger than you were, and they're babies. Like, Hal is like Jordan. I mean, Jesus Christ, look, we got it right here. Check it out. This is Hal right here. That's fucking Hal. That's Evan Grohl's little baby children painting a picture. You guys got to see that thing. Can I zoom in on that? Can I zoom in on that shit?
Yeah, Rodman and Jordan.
Rodman and Jordan's babies painting a Chicago Bulls logo. That's what they are. That's all they are. The reality is, you shouldn't go out and say it's miserable, this, that, and the other, and kind of throw him under the bus. I don't think he was throwing him under the bus, though. I think he was saying what everyone fucking knows.
He was just giving his perspective.
And giving his perspective. And he wasn't in like an emotional shambles type of place. And he did shut down. Don't get me wrong, like, Evan's in the wrong. And that's why I'm not crucifying Hal, from the perspective that, like, he let all that get to him. He wasn't mentally, emotionally tough. Now there's things being said about him getting a girlfriend, which you and I knew from talking to Hal, back a couple months ago at dinner in Austin. But, like, this stuff's all coming out now. And that all led to, like, Evan going down this. But I've been 19, 21, 23 years old and get depressed and, watch How I Met Your Mother on Netflix every day and, like, don't want to do my job. And, like, I don't know, he's going through all these growing pains as an individual. So by all means, like, yes, Evan was wrong by, like, coming out and saying a lot of this stupid shit that you just said in the stream of consciousness. But I think we should just have some empathy and some grace with the fact that he's still growing up and learning. And it is tough to play with Hal. We all know that. Hal knows that. You know that.
Yeah, I mean, Hal's made it clear it's tough to play with me, but do you want to win or do you not? I mean, it is what it is. So
yeah. That's my take. I believe in having, trying to have empathy or show grace where you can. Other things he said. We all got lazy. He spoke, and I think that's another thing. He spoke for Raven there, saying he got lazy. Now that we saw the Raven clip, I don't know if Raven got lazy as much as he got frustrated and hopeless. And that led to maybe laziness.
Hal didn't get lazy.
But yeah, he meant reps.
Yeah.
He specifically said me, reps, Raven. Got lazy. I don't think he can speak on behalf of Raven there. Maybe reps, I don't know. But, like, on Raven, I think Raven just got hopeless. I think Raven, like, didn't have the control. Like, a head coach on a football team or a sports team, has authority. Raven didn't have a ton of authority, and it's hard for him to do his job from that perspective. So that's one thing I'll say, just defending Raven's name, at least in my eyes. The last thing he said that we have to talk about, like, why say this, but going off, I mean, I guess he's just telling his truth, but going off and saying, I joined TSM, I think, this isn't a direct quote, but, like, basically saying I joined TSM for money. I didn't think we would be the best team. That's being misconstrued in some ways now. The way I took that, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he was saying that, like, he thought TSM would be a bad team. I think he was saying that he left the better team to join TSM, which is objectively true at the time. ESA was
pretty close. It wasn't, like, a big difference. Like, him saying that we were fully better with a team that had never been to LAN, never done, like, they didn't really have that many accomplishments.
But they were dominating everything.
Lateral move. They were doing very, very
They were dominating everything. Every online tournament they were winning, every ESA they were winning, and then
Energy did too.
Number one in Pro League. Two Pro Leagues in a row.
Sweet was winning every single online tournament, then hasn't done anything online. It's just I'm picking Hal. It doesn't matter if there's a team scoring better online. I'm picking Hal.
That's a good point. Yeah, that is a good point. I agree with
LAN
that.
is so different. So,
but this was like mid-COVID era that there was not a LAN in sight. So, like, he was just speaking objectively about the online placements where all the prize money was. But with that said, I agree with you. Like, if there was a LAN announced, obviously go join TSM and they're the better team, and don't say that. You're going to sound crazy, but there wasn't a LAN announced. But all that said, like, I think it's crazy to have said that. Don't say that publicly, in my opinion. He's just telling kind of what was the truth. And I think he did share too. He said, look, I had that conversation with Hal, and they explained to me this is a good career decision for you. And I think he was just trying to, like, he was too honest and too truthful, which I think came back to bite him in the ass.
No, I mean, that's the same. So did I. I did the exact same thing Evan did. I left Rogue, which was in a better team than TSM was at the time, where it was me, Sweet, and Dropped. We were absolutely a better team than that TSM roster when they were with Mac at the time, and I left because the contract I got offered wasn't good. So then I joined TSM, which was willing to pay. ESA's not nothing. Like, they were gonna. That's not good money.
It's not.
Like, there's no org good contracts there or anything. You're joining a premier org, so I don't think what Evan said there. I think it could be read the wrong way.
I think it's ready.
I think it's just worded a certain way, but like I made the exact same call because me with Rogan or with Sweden Drops we were the best team at that point in time, and the TSM roster was kind of shaky. But I was like, I see this is like what I want to be a part of. TSM is like the biggest in the game, and I knew it would be a better career decision as well as like knowing that I had the potential to win. It was very, very minimal difference, which is kind of similar. So
No, I knew like all those things about what he said about like dealing with me and playing with me. Like I know about it, but when I try to confront him and like tell him about it, like he would just lie to me and say it's not about me. It's like blah 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 blah. Like I don't know. He was like just lying to my face, saying it wasn't me the entire time, even though it was, and I felt like it was. Maybe because he just knew that I wouldn't be able to change or whatever, which is like I guess fair, but I don't know. And another thing, since we're all being honest, and you know, I know Evan likes being honest. I know I love being honest. I love being honest. Okay, so Evan, I told this to Jordan months ago. I told this to Jordan months ago. And I know people that have been, you know, watching for a while, and they will agree with me as soon as I say this. And I hope it doesn't go down that path. I really hope it doesn't. But we'll see. But you are turning out just like to be Mac. You and Mac were in the same exact fucking boat. The same wage, you know, we were winning with Mac. Everything was fine. You know, Mac started to resent me and eventually couldn't handle my shit anymore. The same way that it's the same thing with Evan. You and Mac were in the same exact boat when it came to like the attitude or like the handling the team and stuff like that. So, and I believe that like 100%. Yeah, of course Raymond got complacent when you have fucking 2 players that weren't doing fucking shit. Like, what did you expect? Like, you can have a fucking best coach in the world and you have 2 bronze players. What the fuck are you gonna do? So this coach can give you everything that you need to execute, and then you have fucking bronze players to execute it. It's not gonna be executed. It's really simple. You cannot blame someone else when you weren't even doing anything in the first place. I'll fucking, like, isn't that so, like, fucking stupid? Like, just think about that. Think about how stupid that is. Like, I was a bum, but this guy was also a bum. So it's okay. It's okay, we're both bums. Oh yeah, I wasn't planning on saying anything bad. Like, I literally, like, fucking cried because I felt, like, bad for saying anything in the first place. Even though it was reality, but then like all of this shit came out for no fucking reason just because of the views and shit like that. It's just fucking cringe as fuck. Listen, I'm gonna still be friends with Evan and Jordan unless they give me a reason not to, right? Like, this is more so like unresolved discussion in a way.
yeah.
So I don't know. It is kind of weird, but at the same time, like I'm not gonna like get. It's not going to be, you know, I don't know. It's not going to be that deep. I mean, not that deep. It'd be different if I was still playing with them. But yeah, the same way it's hard for me to play with you because you want to take it serious. You want to have fun and just fuck around when I'm trying to win the game. It was just like you said, a personality difference. Them 2 wanting to have fun, fuck around, you know, take a fucking hike in a picnic, hold hands type shit. And I just wanted to not sit in the lobby every fucking game. It is what it is. And there's a huge mentality difference on the team. Completely different mentality difference. Completely. And somehow, I don't know how the fuck we were winning, even with all that going on, but we did. There's a huge mentality difference. Well, yeah, of course Raven took personal offense. Raven said nothing bad about anybody, the same with me, and then Evan went out of his way to say these things. So then that's how it all went out. Evan started talking shit in a way about Raven, and then Raven responded, and then he decided he wanted to do the same thing with me. So then I'm here. Like, we talked about all of this shit off stream. What is the point? Like I said, We talked about all this shit that he said on stream. We have talked about this as a team. Like, this was a thing before, right? So now, all of a sudden, he wants to talk about it on stream, as if Twitch chat is going to help him or something. So if you guys have some brain cells onto why all of a sudden he wants to bring it up on stream, even though we talked about it outside of stream, I wonder why he's doing it. Let's put two and two together. There's like a pretty fine line where, you know, I didn't even do that after I left the team, right? Because I cared more so like the fact that we, like, how well we did and not allow like my, I don't know, my bad feelings or my problems with my teammates, like, overcome that. Especially considering, like, I feel like, you know, they're my great friends, right? Like, there's no reason for me to do so. I've always had this problem with, like, my viewers and my teammates where people don't understand where I'm coming from when it comes to, like, competing and shit like that. And it's something that I feel like only certain people will. And that's okay. It is, like I said, only some people understand, and that's okay. People will call me asshole. Asshole, you know, you don't understand how to talk to people, communicate, all this shit, whatever. And that's fine. That's fine.
This is the clip.
I'm gonna be over here being an asshole, winning everything. You can be over there being happy and losing. And that's okay. There's people, Reddit, Twitch, other pro players bitching about how I act to my teammates, how you should be nicer, blah, 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 blah. Yep. I'm glad that you have a sunshine and rainbow, buddy, because you're still fucking having
Buddy gets it every time.
Because maybe if you be a little bit more positive, if you are a little bit more positive, you'll win. Maybe. Maybe. Just maybe. Maybe. There is no other person in this fucking world right now that I know other than Zero when it comes to fucking winning. There is no other fucking person. No other person that I've met that is, like, similar when it comes to competing than Zero. Not even close. Not even fucking close. And like that, and like having that, those, like, you understand having two mentalities like that on the same team? Like, holy, it's like having fucking two Michael Jordans on the same fucking team. Like, the funniest shit to me, I even brought this up in a Japanese podcast, that people have a problem with how I act, but as soon as I have $100,000 in my hand, they're like, okay, I'll deal with it. Oh, I get to yell. You get to yell at me for $100,000. Okay, cool. Like, everything is like, it's all fine that I'm yelling at you. Blah 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 blah. As soon as we win, when we win, but then when we're not winning, it's a problem. But then they don't even talk about, like, the end result of the entire, like, why we're doing it. Why does that? Do you understand what it takes to get there? What is the point of doing it? Do you understand my position? No. All people do is fucking care about the other person. No one asks me, why do you have to deal with that? Why do you have to deal with them playing so bad all the time? How does that feels like, that's gotta be so just terrible for someone yelling and them not listening to you, blah, 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 blah. How do you deal with that? Nobody asked me that. Everyone's always fucking on the other side. Why are you always fucking yelling at them? Blah, 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 blah. I gotta talk to them nicer, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's fucking stupid. It's fucking annoying.
So Raven, Verhulst, Hal, which ones emerge, and how do they emerge out of this thing? As a winner, neutral, or as a loser? Starting with Hal, since we just saw the clip.
He's just going to come across as a winner here.
100%.
I mean, winning mentality, he's not letting it affect him. He's just speaking from his mind, and he's now basically reassuring himself that he made the right decision and talking about how Zero is the only other person that he respects and has the same mentality. And I mean, I don't disagree in terms of, like, who is competing for the top right now in Apex. It's those two, and then everyone else in terms of, like, the passion and everything they put in, that they ooze. I refuse to let anyone else outwork me to win these championships. I mean, I don't disagree with what he said. I mean, you know, he has every right until a team shuts them down to be cocky. Honestly, I mean, they're winning Pro League, they're winning both scrim blocks multiple times. Like, they clearly wanted more. They didn't just form the team and think, oh, we're gonna be better. We don't have to do anything about it. Like, they're still outworking every other team. Raven came across pretty neutral. I mean, I think he just had the right to defend himself in the whole situation, and kind of, there was no context added on to that. I don't think Evan came out of this very, very good in the grand scheme of things. But I mean, I think that everyone still is going to be rooting for him and wanting to see him put in the work. And I think how comparing him to Mac is pretty unnecessary. I don't think that was a real necessary comment to make. Mac kind of caught a stray there. That's way long past due of what happened. That was years and years and years ago, and this hadn't played out the same. They're nothing alike in the sense of like personalities, nothing. So
you teamed with Alberelli, and you obviously replaced Alberelli on the roster. So I'd actually be curious to get your take on it. I mean, Hal was was making a comparison that he felt was relevant in the moment, and is there not any level of relevancy? I mean, like Alberelli, according to what Hal just said and shared, built resentment over time towards Hal for his leadership style, which was frustrated, which turned into resentment.
Max agreed with that for sure.
And he agreed with that.
He's talked about that himself and been like,
and that led to their downfall and why they split ways. Like Hal did not want to split ways. He still believed in Alberelli. Hal's been loyal. And then Bavaros just did the same thing. He had so much resentment that he actually didn't want to play the game anymore. And clearly it affected him with him now sharing it. So like, is it a crazy comparison? But yeah, Alberelli's catching strays, and that's not right. But it's just making a comparison because it's relevant, right?
I guess it's not that crazy, just kind of unnecessary. I think in the grand, it's not a crazy comparison to think about.
Maybe unnecessary. It's irrelevant.
It happened with teammates, but it is relevant. It is relevant. But you could have made that same point, and be like, he said it again. He's like, why is it like I deal with constant teammates where this ends up happening, where it's like if you can't match my intensity, then kind of get the fuck out my way, and I'm gonna find someone that does it, and he did, and I mean that's.
So I want to go into that next. I'm glad you brought that up because that's a couple of bullets I have here, like things I want to go into when we determine Hal. Just closing the loop on like the who emerges, the winner, neutral, negative conversation. I agree with what you said. I think Hal emerges as a winner, absolutely. I think it's actually deeper than what you said too. Like, versus, Hal just wants to win. He just shows it. It's even deeper than that. Like, I think it actually paints an even better light and a brighter light on Hal's decision to leave TSM. Which we know, again, from talking to him and you all know from seeing him tear up, like that was all as genuine as it gets. He really struggled with that decision big time. And a lot of people wanted to throw kind of mud at him for that decision, saying, how dare you leave for a super team, comparing him to Kevin Durant, like how dare you leave TSM. I think this whole situation now exposes the truth as to why he left. And I think it's entirely justified.
I mean, if you want to make a comparison, Evan talking about how at the end he made his decision to leave, his old roster with Skittle and Dupe because he wanted the money and the fame from TSM, and thought he could still have a good chance of winning, but not that. Well, Hal left TSM because he didn't care about the money is going to be there with an org like Falcons, but he left because he knew it would make him
the opposite
win, and it's complete different mentality.
He's actually said that they offered him the same amount of money. It wasn't about money at all.
And I've heard that the offers could have been exactly the same, and just based off of the way things ended with TSM, which clearly a lot of people weren't seeing, and it came to the light, which could have been completely avoided, that Hal made this choice because he wants people who share that same mentality of winning, and it's not the salary that's going to come his way because he cares more about legacy and all of that. Then he already makes enough money from his stream.
Yeah.
The salary contract is not going to change that. So I think that's a completely 180 perspective.
And I think who emerges as a winner in this whole thing, obviously Hal, but Falcons, and who emerges as a bit of a loser, TSM, from the perspective of, I think Hal and Falcons just gained fans back. Because
I agree.
There was an absolute narrative before all this was now exposed that Hal was the bad guy. How dare Hal leave TSM? Poor Verhulst and reps kind of playing a bit of like boo-hoo type of scenario, but this exposes why he left and why it was such a tough decision for him. And so I think this is actually a little bit deeper than just clickbait drama, this, that, and the other. I think this has some deeper implications. So I think Hal emerging as a winner goes deeper from that perspective. I think Raven, I think neutral to maybe a little bit, was definitely negative on Sunday when Evan was on After Hours and said what he said. And I think that didn't help his coaching resume, etc. But I'm glad Raven did what he did and very objectively in how he addressed it. I think that moves it back to neutral. And I obviously hope nothing for the best for Raven, but Raven did a great job in his video explaining the truth, his side of the story, and I think he's definitely neutral. And then I agree. I think by all means, everything I said during the Verhulst segment, we were talking about Verhulst after watching his clip. I stand by, like, we should have grace because he's 21 years old. But he fucked up. Like, he made a mistake. He overexposed some things that maybe shouldn't have been exposed, were too personal. Maybe should have been left as thoughts only or personal conversations. And Hal summarized it perfectly by saying these were all unresolved issues and conflicts we had as a team that he decided to kind of bring publicly. And now we're resolving them on camera, versus go to the fucking dinner table.
Apex needs this. Apex needs this. Thank you for the good of the game. I appreciate you guys.
For the good of the game.
We'll see the private text in the back say, let's just start some shit.
Yeah, we'll pay you in the back end, Verhulst, for those clips. Now, but Apex needs this sports need. Like, that's sports. Like, at the end of the day, if Patrick Mahomes is talking shit about Tyreek Hill, his former teammate, you better believe it'd be covered by ESPN and all these entities, and it creates storylines. And that's all important. Fans want to understand the truth, and fans, you guys got the truth now, and you guys got to see, the overall story. And again, that's one thing I do love about Evan and Hal is they are not afraid to tell their truth and the truth, and give fans the full story. Which I think the fans got the full story now. The full story is out there officially from what we just saw. Is my take.
And I get to come from like an older place of wisdom and talk about it and break it all down.
Eric's the fucking hero.
Yeah. No, this is fun. This is fun.
Yeah, it is fun. I want to break down Hal's clip because there's a lot he said there. I know we talked about a little bit the Evan and Mac thing, resentment. The unresolved thing we just talked about. He defended Raven and said, I don't blame him because they're all a bunch of bums. If they're all bronze players, bums being bums, Raven, of course, is going to be a bum. Here's one thing I will say. Like, yeah, Hal emerges as a winner, and we kind of shared that. And I agree. I stand by all that. One thing I think, Hal's a friend. He's coming to Chicago and staying at my house this weekend. But I'll tell him this to his face. He takes no accountability at all. Hal takes no.
He doesn't.
At the end of that video, he's like, that's fine. You can think what you want, and you can think I'm a terrible person. How I communicate is terrible. That's just you. That's how you think. But the reality is, I'm going to keep doing it because I want to win. And he justifies his actions entirely. And don't get me wrong. Like I shared earlier, he's fucking Jordan. He's hardened his teammates. That's a good thing. We agreed on that. But you could still have a little bit of humility and take some accountability to say, okay, I acknowledge, and maybe he has. You were his teammate, so you just said he doesn't. But maybe he has. But acknowledge, okay, maybe I don't have to fucking. And one thing we left out of this clip was, I guess, some comment that was made and some mistake that Hal kept hampering on Evan over and over and over and over again. Like, maybe he can say, okay, I should not have done that, or I shouldn't be as hard, or maybe he can tweak his communication a little bit. Right now he's 100% full on intense. Maybe he can be 85% intense. But the fact that he takes no accountability, he plays a little bit of victim towards the end of the video.
Unapologetically himself, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether it's accountability or not, it's just. I mean, he doesn't sugarcoat it, and he's unapologetically himself, and it's gonna rub people the wrong way. And I mean, there has been certain situations, Hal doesn't really say I'm sorry much, but he will listen, and he will be like, okay, I do think I was a little harsh or whatever, but it doesn't come in the moment. It'll come way later down the road. But I'm sure he's looked back and been like, okay, I could have handled this and this differently. But I mean, there's no reason to.
Yeah.
At this point, once you're past that point, it's why?
Well, there is reason to. It's called having a growth mindset, trying to grow as a human being and as a leader. He has now led two teammates to resentment, to a point of resentment. And I get you could blame them and say it's Mac and Verhulst's fault, but being a leader is taking accountability and understanding the people that you're dealing with on your team. Verhulst is a great player, understanding how to motivate them, and you could just blame them and say it's their fault, they need to get tougher, and just find teammates that are tougher, which is what he did. I don't blame him for that. Or you can use it as a chance to grow as a leader and as a person and find out how to coach and how to lead people based on their personalities.
Yeah, I mean, I always said this in the past. I was like, Hal's a great in-game leader and someone that you want to he's going to push you to be better, but he's not a great leader. Yeah. He's not a great lead by example type of person. There are other methods to success. That's just his specific one, and you signed up for it. You knew it going into it. You knew that wasn't going to change. Everyone, people play with Sweet, they know what they're going to get. People play with Zero, they know what they're going to get. Zero's railed all of his past teammates, and pushed them just as hard. You know what you're signing up for. So to then fall back on that later and be like, oh, it was too harsh and this and that. It's I mean, if it started one way and then shifted, that's completely different. But that's what got you to winning in the first place.
For sure.
Nothing changed,
and that's what I'm saying.
Besides that mentality of it's too much for me.
I agree with that. And that's what I'm saying. Dial it from 100% on the spectrum to 90. I'm not saying fucking kumbaya, sunshines and rainbows like Hal said in his video. And I agree with everything he said in his video. I fucking love that video, and I love that about Hal.
I love that too.
Yeah, I'm the same way,
I think
bro.
positive reinforcement when things are going wrong is always the right method. Sometimes
100%.
you need to be a dick.
Yeah.
And really make it known that like this is unacceptable.
Yeah. Me and Nick Merckx and High Distortion used to literally get in screaming that we fucking would scream at each other, but it made us better. We were the best team in the game at the time.
Hal and I would yell at each other, and then I'd play matchmaking with him right after.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
I was like,
I agree with all that. I'm just saying there's still some level of accountability you can take as a good leader, because there's exactly what you just said. Like, he's a great in-game leader, but I don't know if he's a natural born leader. If you're not, a leader has to take accountability, period.
Mhm.
Period. You have to
Yeah,
take
all right, so
you have to have a growth mindset. You can't just kind of, point and say, I'm not going to learn. So again, I'm not hampering on that point, because I ultimately, like I said, Hal emerges as a winner here. Absolutely. He's shown loyalty to his teammates. He has all the right attributes. And I think now that he's not leading, IGLing with Falcons, but I think that's one thing I noticed at the end of the video that I think, again, we have to tell every side of the story. I think that's true. We're also going to learn a shit ton from all of this. I hope he does. By the way, I want to share my screen again. Now I maybe see why people are saying that Evan's fucking clickbait. Did he literally have drama alert in his fucking Twitch title?
I think so.
No. Okay, I take back all my fucking comments defending his non-clickbait. I lied.
He was trying to wait for more viewers in the chat, apparently. To
No.
Yeah.
Oh, it's even worse, bro. Let me go back to this. I saw that at the end.
That feels like
Alert, drama, alert. What is this, Keemstar shit, bro? What are we, Jake Lucky? Jesus Christ. Okay, I take back everything I said. No, I'm just kidding. I don't take back everything I said. But that's too much. I hope he learns from that, too. I really thought he was just sharing his truth. Don't get me wrong, he's a corny kid, and he was probably trying to being corny and goofy, and maybe he is, farming some content a little bit, perhaps. So I take back some of those comments from there.